Perfect. All right. Yay. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy last day of April. I can't believe how quickly this whole year is just flying by. I'm doing another client interview. Right. Yay. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. With my client, Jenny Field. She's amazing. First of all, let me welcome you. If you're brand new to this community, my name is Brittany Budd. I am a mindset and business coach, and I help online entrepreneurs to build and then scale their businesses to 6 figures and beyond using organic social media marketing. Jenny, what's up, girl?
Hey, how are you?
Good. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm excited. This is fun.
It's going to be amazing. Why don't you introduce everybody? No, introduce yourself to everybody.
Wow. Okay. I'm Jenny Field. I am a life and business coach. I help women leave behind shame, guilt, frustration, so they can gain their confidence back and reclaim their inner badass so they can be the person that they want to be.
Yes, I love this. Tell everybody how you got into this.
I actually had been working with a coach in a group setting, and we had a side conversation totally unrelated to anything. And she said, "Hey, have you ever thought about being a coach?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, but I don't know how to do that." And so I was like, "All right." And it was funny because I feel like that's what I've done my whole life. Mm-hmm. Like, I've been in direct sales. I've been in social selling. I've coached teams and done that kind of thing. So I kind of knew, like, I just didn't know how to put it into this format. So, or how to make that, what that was supposed to look like.
I think this is so funny because that's how I got into it too. Like, I hired a coach. It was for network marketing. And they were like, "Why aren't you a coach?" And I was like, because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Exactly.
And now here we both are.
Exactly.
Oh my word. This is so cool. So what made you decide to make that shift from the social selling world to coaching others how to do it? Other than the nudge.
Other than the nudge. I think for me, it's like something like in the back of my mind, I always knew I wanted to mentor and help women be all that they could be and find their true voice. I was in direct sales, like I said, for 20 years, only I was trying to be somebody I wasn't, right? I was surrounded by amazing women doing amazing things. And I was trying to be just like them instead of just like me. And so when that came up, I was like, oh my gosh, like I can be me. This is freaking awesome. And so that's kind of what gave me the nudge to do it. I have a heart for women in social selling, network marketing, because I've been there. I've spent 25 years of my life there. So I love it. But this was just a natural shift. And it's something that just fills my cup every single day.
That's so good. And a great point touching on, sometimes we do end up sounding like the people that we're around, because we see it working for them and we're just kind of like, well, what I'm doing isn't working. What she's doing is working. I'll just do that. And it does absolutely take this intentional effort of finding your voice, which I know is very coachy speak. And I know that this is something that you help your clients with. Would you love to like elaborate on what exactly that means for those of us that are like, okay, but I'm talking, I have my own voice. What does it mean to find my voice and not sound like everybody else?
I think you just have to really dig deep into yourself and be like, what am I good at? How do I stand apart? What makes me different from everybody else? Because we all have our own unique gifts. And sometimes we think, well, that's not a gift. Like, that's just who I am. And I think that's the biggest thing is we spend so much time like searching when if we just stopped, I will tell you the greatest thing I did is I asked people, I put myself out there. I was scared to death, but I asked people, hey, what's one word you would use to describe me?
Yes.
And it was so eye-opening because they said exactly who I was. So I'm like, okay, so my friends in general, like, get me, they know who I am. But yet in my salesy, and I don't want to say salesy because I know people aren't trying to be salesy, but I was trying to be, I don't know, like all sugary, and I'm more sass than I am sugar. And so I was like, oh no, my people are out there. I just need to be authentically and uniquely who I am.
Yes. Oh, this is so good. I love that you did that. That's something that I used to get people to do back when I sold my old group coaching program. That was one of the first things that I told people to do. Go and ask people on the internet what word they think of when they think of you, because your brand and your message already exists, whether you're aware of it or not.
Well, and then I typed up the sheet, I am, and listed all the attributes that they had, and then went back through and thought, wow, they get me. And so I keep it. I have it in my office. It's just one of those things that when you're feeling like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I look at that and think, you know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly. Just keep doing it. So
that is so good. And another great point that you just made is the things that come natural to us, like, oh, that's just who I am. Oh, this is common sense. That's the stuff that really makes us shine, because no one does it like us. And just because we think it's common doesn't mean it is.
Exactly.
That's where we shine.
Yep.
So amazing. Okay, tell everybody why this work is so important to you.
For me, I want to live in a world with confident women who are unafraid to be who they are, because when we're that way, we raise daughters to be that way. And I do believe we can change the world one person at a time, more confident, more themselves. And then we all know too, when mama's happy, everybody's happy. And so I think that just makes a world of difference to people. And it allows us just to be free in who we are.
Yes. I love that you just talked about that. Now your kids are grown.
Yes.
But I still think it's so important that as moms, we set the stage. And
absolutely.
You can probably attest to this too. My mom did not work while we were growing up. She stayed at home, she raised us, and there's this really strange idea that we need to put all of our dreams on hold because of our children. They need us, and we use our kids as crutches to not do things. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, so many thoughts. Children learn more from what is caught than what is taught. So you can preach all that you want to your kids, but they watch what you do. And then that's how they start to figure things out. And it's really funny. My kids still will call me and say, well, Mom, what do you think? And I'll do the whole, this is your life. What do you think? And when we allow ourselves to be who we're supposed to be in front of our kids and work, I think working when you have kids is awesome. I know that's where a lot of shame and guilt and frustration comes from, because you're like, how in the hell do I do it all? But I think too, it's a powerful message to send to both genders, because it's important for males to see, hey, strong, powerful females. And it's important for girls to see the exact same thing and know that they can exist and that they can do it their own way. They don't have to copycat anybody.
Oh, that is so good. I often say this when people ask me, like, why do you do this? And I'm a big believer that your family, if they're going to be your why, like, use them as your reason to do it instead of the reason not to do it. And
absolutely.
I think the same thing. My boys are, well, my oldest is going to be 7. And then I've got 5 who will be 6 at the end of the summer. And I always say, I want them to see me do hard things, because I don't want them to be intimidated or afraid of a strong woman. And a lot of men today are.
They certainly can be. I think too, it's great for your kids to see you fail.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to fail. And so when we don't allow our kids to fail and we don't allow ourselves to fail in front of them, it puts another stigma on it that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's okay to be like, oh, screwed that up. And as a parent, come on, guys, we know that you're like, that was a bad mommy day. I'm sorry. Like, it's okay. So I think it's important that they see that.
So good. I love that. I agree with you 1,000,000%. We need to kind of break the cycle here as empowered women.
Absolutely. I love it.
Okay, let's talk about before in your business. Before we were working together, what were you thinking and feeling when it came to your business?
I was thinking I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I was thinking, this will be great if I just knew what I was doing. Like, I know how to relate to people. I know how to talk to people. I knew all those basics, but I didn't know how, like, where to start. Like, how do you start to grow a business? I've grown other businesses, right? But I was like, how do I grow this business? So that's kind of where I was like, how do I do this?
Yeah. And what had you tried before?
I started out and I did free coaching with 6 different people for 6 weeks. And then I just didn't know how to transition that into paid offers.
Yeah.
I had no idea kind of what that meant. I was not going to cold DM people. And I was like, how do you find customers? How do you go about this? And I'm going to be honest. I thought everybody should be flocking to work with me. I was like, dang, I'm good at what I do.
You are.
But nobody was flocking to me. So I was like, okay, I need to figure that out.
You mean the parade of people at your front door holding their credit cards didn't go by?
It was amazing. I don't even know what they were thinking.
Let's talk about these free clients, because I also did a free client thing. Did you know going into these free client stage of starting your business, what you wanted to talk about with them? Like, were you, hey, I'm going to do life and business, or were you just like, whatever?
It was a free for all.
Talk about. Yes, that's exactly what I did too. And how did you find that experience?
I found that once you start talking to people and you ask genuine questions, you will find out what they need or what they're searching for or more questions to ask. I had no clue like what they were coming to me for. One person I knew, nobody else I knew. And so I was like, I don't know, we're going to figure this out. And so I was scared to death the first call because, like I said, you don't know people. You don't know if you're going to click. But once I did it, it was like, okay, this is awesome. This is absolutely what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
So
did you find that it helped you figure out what area you wanted to take your coaching business in?
Yes and no.
Okay.
You know, I was so concerned that I had to niche down. I just had to keep niching down. I had to find the ideal client in this little itty bitty circle. And you've helped me realize, like, no, like you can, like, we can ever be evolving. We don't have to, it's better to start broad and niche down a little versus it's really hard to go the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And so I'm still like, I say life coach because all of my experiences have just led me to be a mentor to lots of different people in different areas. And then business, because that's what I've been in for 30 years. So I'm still not niched all the way down. I'm like, okay, let's just have a good time and figure this out and see what people need.
I don't think you need to niche down any further. Just my opinion. I think that was perfect because even, you know, I say that I'm a mindset and business coach. I do a lot of life coaching just because.
Yes.
And you would know this.
I do mine.
Yeah. Yes. If something's kind of going funky in your personal life, that comes over into your business. And so if you're like,
absolutely,
oh, I'm not making any money, and you're like, oh, okay, well, you're making offers, everything looks good, what's going on? And it's like, well, my husband's cheating on me. It's like, well, no shit. This is why you're not making any money. Let's talk.
There's a little block somewhere. Yeah, absolutely. And it's that way, I think, with just about everything.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. So good. I love this. When you were deciding to hire me, what hesitancies did you have?
Well, I ghosted you because, you know, I'm special like that.
I was never going to bring it up.
I'm going to be very transparent. So Brittany and I had a discovery call. I loved her. I loved her vibe. I loved everything about her. And I got freaking cold feet. I did have some life things going on, you know, like when you're ready to invest, right? Like shit hits the fan. My car broke down. My kid was getting married. I was like, okay, like this is not, you know, I played the whole thing in my head, guys. This was not meant to be. I'm supposed to wait. I'm not supposed to hire a coach. This was like blah, blah, blah. And I, from my training, know better. I know that when great things are going to happen, it explodes. Like everything's coming at you from every direction. So it was about a month, I think, maybe 6 weeks. And I reached back out and I'm like, hey, I'm ready. Will you take me? I just had to process through. And I've invested in myself before, but being in direct sales and network marketing, like your investments are smaller ticket items, right? Like you can go hear great speakers and do great group things and get motivation, but motivation doesn't last unless you know what your purpose is and why you're doing it. It also doesn't get questions answered, you know, like when you're like, what is going on here? So it just took a little bit, just a little bit.
I have to laugh that you bring this up because when you came back, I got a message from Kristen. So this is Jenny's old coach. She's a good friend of mine. And she goes, I'm sending one of my clients to you. And I was like, okay, cool. And who is this? And she's like, Jenny Field. And I was like, oh, I talked to Jenny.
Yeah, you're like, huh, okay.
I'm wondering what's going to happen here now. And it's been amazing. And here we are. It's been amazing. We're wrapping up our first 6 months together. Jenny's now joining the May class of my Mastermind. And we've had an amazing time together. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you just talked about how, and I remember this, you even told me on the call, my son's getting married in a couple of days. And I was like, okay, no problem. Thinking about the money, the wedding, the car troubles, would you say that there were any other objections that you had to overcome when the time came?
Do you want me to be honest? Like, should I really put it out there? So during the whole COVID thing, my husband and I were like, I don't know. I guess when you start thinking about doing something, like everything starts to be that, right? You're going to buy a new car and you're looking at this car and you see that car everywhere you go. Yeah. So all of a sudden I was seeing life coaches, business coach everywhere, coaching. Like I hadn't really paid attention before that there was this whole coaching realm. And so we were sitting there. I'm like, who would hire a coach? Like, I don't even, like, that's ridiculous. And he's like, yeah, blah, 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 you know? And then all of a sudden, like, it took me about 2 weeks and I'm like, wait a minute. He hires consultants for his business and that's the same thing. So I was like, oh, but that was really only it. Like, it was one of those things where I knew I needed to. I was scared to death. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know, you know, you go into things and you're like, am I going to be judged for what I don't know? Am I going to be judged for what how I did something? Is it like, what does that look like? You have no idea. And I think honestly, like most people think those things, especially like, if I get on a discovery call, what does that look like? Like, that's like, ugh. So, those were my holdbacks. But then once I realized like, no, this is ridiculous. Large corporations hire consultants and coaches all the time.
Yes.
So, and everybody I knew that was super successful had a coach. And I'm like, oh, there you go.
This is true. I would love to find a super successful person. It doesn't matter what field they are in.
It doesn't.
They've got someone that they lean on and ask questions to and bounce ideas off of and utilize them asking the hard questions to make their brain work in different ways, because our brains are lazy and they're going to try to do the easiest thing. Oh, this is scary, I don't want to do it. Oh, this is risky, I don't want to do it. Oh, this is uncomfortable, I don't want to do it. And just having some someone that's not involved, you know, like not
Exactly.
your husband or your wife or your best friend or your mom, who's just kind of like blinders, not seeing the whole picture, very biased in what they want you to do. Asking you
Exactly.
those hard questions. Oh, my soul.
It's true.
It is. And great point about your husband, who was kind of agreeing with you, but not seeing the distinction in the difference. Like, and he's a dentist, right? So having his own dental practice, is it that much different than having a coaching business? Well, I mean, you're not sticking your hands in people's mouths, but
thank God.
No.
But you're shoveling shit out of their brain. So it's exactly the same thing, right?
It's the same thing. Different kind of dirt.
Different. Exactly. Like, just get it out.
I love that. Okay. What about after you sent me that message and you were like, okay, I'm ready now. Can you still take me? What were your thoughts and feelings at that time?
Like, oh God, I hope I didn't screw this up. Because I didn't want to, like, I didn't know how to go about finding somebody else. And I didn't get, you know, I didn't want to do that. I think so many people just go and no, that's a generalization. Some people go and just hire a coach without ever talking to them or getting to know them. And I really think you need somebody who aligns with you and who won't accept your crap. Like, who's not afraid to say, hey, that's a really good idea, but that's not, and this is why. And I don't know. I just didn't want to go through that process. I like to be comfortable in my uncomfortableness. So if I was going to be uncomfortable, I just wanted to be uncomfortable with you. That's what it was.
And I think we jive very well. Like when you said, like, I'm not super sweet, I'm kind of sassy. I was like, and we are very similar. Like if you listen in on our coaching sessions, they're very fiery, spicy language is happening all over the place. Yes. We laugh a lot and we get shit done.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh my soul. I love this. Okay. What has surprised you most about my process as your coach?
I think the first month I was like, she's not telling me what to do. Like, why isn't she telling me what to do? Damn it. Tell me what to do. And then it became, oh, you're supposed to figure out what to do. Like it was, because not knowing what that process was. So it's a very, I don't know if gentle is the right word, but Brittany asked a lot of questions and sometimes you'll sit there and think, I don't know. Cause I hadn't thought about those things. Mm-hmm. And I tend to either spill everything or I have to process and then come back. And so there's been a lot of times I thought, wow, I have never thought of that. So I need to go back and process through that. And so that's helped a ton. And there's times when I'm sure you're like, girl, we have talked about this 5,000 times. Can we just move past this?
I never think that, by the way.
But there's time I think that about myself where I'm like, oh my gosh, why can't you get past this? And so it's just digging deeper each time because it's like peeling back an onion, right? Like you take a little bit off and you're like, okay, I'm good. And then something comes along and you're like, oh, why is this coming back up? And you just have to keep peeling through it until you're like, oh, and I think it's that way all the time. I don't ever think things are like, oh, this is lovely. Everything's going to be perfect. No. But you learn faster how to catch yourself in those thoughts and then know how to acknowledge them and process them and move on.
So good. I love that you were like, she didn't just tell me what to do. And there's a really big reason why I don't do that. And it's because in the old programs that I've done, I was told what to do. I was told what class I was allowed to learn from and when. I was told exactly what I was supposed to do. And if I didn't do it, you know, shit kind of hit the fan.
I'm really not thinking that's you.
It was not me.
Yeah.
And it didn't work for me. What I was being told to do never felt great, but it worked over there. And so when I left that and started doing my own thing, I realized what worked for me but also had, enough sense to go, well, it also works that way. So I'm not going to shove my ideas on somebody because there's lots of ways that we can make this work. Let's find the way that they like, instead of me being like, do this, even if you don't like it. Like, you don't want a cold DM? Too friggin' bad. Send 100 tomorrow. Let me know how it goes. Like, no, there's so many ways.
Right. Exactly. Well, and it's empowering for me as the client to come up with the answer myself, because then you trust yourself more, you gain more confidence, and you can still bounce ideas, but you feel better about the process because it is on me. It's not, I can't be mad at you ever because all you did was ask me a question, right? Like, so it just makes you process through, and coming through, I mean, we've got a few weeks left in our 6 months, and I feel like I now trust myself 1,000% more, which is far more important than knowing how to create a sales funnel or knowing how to set up emails. Because when I asked you about that, you're like, do you want to do that? I don't know. Do I? Like, and so, I set up one thing and I'm like, oh, now I get it. Like, next time I do this, it'll be 1,000 times easier. So I don't know. It just makes you, I mean, that's what I feel like coaching's about. Learning how to trust yourself and have more confidence and be willing to take the risk to do something new.
So good. I think that's so important to note as you're saying this. Like, I want to empower you to be the CEO of your business. Not, I'm the CEO of your business and you're the face.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
Need to, if you don't want to work with me anymore, okay. I want you to have the legs to stand on and not really like lean on me so heavily to run your business. And not just you, Jenny, anyone that works with me. Right. I want you to be able to get up and run without me.
Yeah. Well, it's like being a good parent, right?
Yeah.
Give you wings to fly. That's our job. So absolutely.
Yes. Even though with our children, we kind of want to tie them to the ground.
Yours are still little. They're little. You haven't been through the teenage years.
It's true. This is true. I'm probably stupidly optimistic about the future.
No, they're kid. I think it's like everything else. It's stages, and it's life, right? And as women and parents and business owners, we learn through our kids too, because I've learned so much just from walking my kids through challenges that you're like, oh, I mean, you can use everything to learn from. Absolutely.
So good. Why are you glad that we work together?
Because I like you, because you've increased my confidence, because you get me, you don't think I have to fit into some mold. You are constantly saying to me, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And I'm constantly thinking, I want Brittany to tell me. But it's made me really step out into things that were really uncomfortable. And now I'm like, who cares? Like, if I type out an offer or a post that's dumb, who cares? Like, it's what's in my head in the moment. It's real. It's whatever that is. If you don't get it, it's okay. Somebody else will, or somebody else is going to be like, oh my God, you're like, were you in my head today? So it's given me the confidence to do all of that and not worry about it.
That's so fun. I love that. Tell me why it has already paid off for you that we've been working together.
Just those things, learning to be consistent and to show up consistently. That was huge, because I, like you say, consistently, like, what does that mean? And you gave me parameters for that. I had a Facebook group, and I've been able to grow that group and grow that audience through just little tips that I've asked you about or learned from you. And it's been a growth process. And I can't remember what else part of your question there was.
Okay. I just said, why did it pay off for you?
Confidence, trust, growth, personal growth, business growth.
Okay. No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, okay, so we are one-on-one right now, but you are stepping into the May mastermind.
Mm-hmm.
So we're at the end of April. The May starts in like a week and a half. What are you most excited about for the mastermind?
I feed off of other people's energy. And so I love being around a group of women that challenge each other. I believe that iron sharpens iron. I believe that the more insight, the more you listen to people, the more you grow, because somebody else is going to have completely different thoughts than I will on something. And it just makes me better. And so that's one of the things I'm super excited about, is just 9 other people to feed off of, learn from, grow from. And you make incredible friendships. I was in a group coaching before, and that was over a year ago, and I'm still in touch with almost all of them.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so it's special.
I'm excited. It's going to be a great group.
It is. It's going to be awesome.
I'm so pumped. Awesome. Okay. What challenges would you say that you have overcome since we started working together?
Writing content has been my biggest hang up. And primarily because I was just afraid, like I wouldn't say it right. Or I look at how everybody else writes and I'm like, oh my God, they're so good. Like, and so I just threw caution to the wind and was like, I'm just going to write it like I would say it.
Yes.
And that's who I am. Like if I make things fluffy, the people that know me are going to be like, really? And yes, I believe like I'm motivational and I can do those things, right? I feel like I'm that person, but I also feel like, no, there's a whole lot more, and the whole lot more blends in perfectly. So you just have to make that fit. So writing content, showing up, not being afraid to put stuff out there. I have a 5-day challenge that I had done with my group, and now I'm turning it into my freebie. I had no idea, like, how do you really make that work? And you and I talked about it last week. And so I put it together. I tested it. It didn't work. I tested it again. It didn't work. Oh, third time I tested it and it worked. So I was like, okay. So it's just one of those things, just growing through that, knowing like it's okay to mess up. It's okay for something not to work. I think I asked you in one of your posts on coaching, like, what do you expect? What should you expect for something like that? Because I had no expectations. I feel like the information I have is great, that I present it in a fun way. What do you expect? And you're like, what do you expect? I'm like, I don't think I expect anything. And you're like, okay. I guess my expectation is if people listen to it and they get one thing from it, then I've done my job. Mm-hmm. That's what I feel like, is if you can walk away with one thing that you're like, dang, because I do believe that when you're ready to hear something, you'll hear it. And it doesn't matter that you've heard it 1,000 times before. And it doesn't matter who presents it. It's just all of a sudden you were willing to accept the information.
Mm-hmm. I love that you just made that point. There's a guy that I follow. We're Facebook friends. I want to say it's Nick Talia, but it might not be. But anyway, he said that he was having a conversation with someone and he was trying to coach them on their business. And they kept saying, I already know this. I already know this. I already know this. And he snapped and he was like, I'm sorry, but if you already knew this, we wouldn't be having to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Like you would be implementing, this would not be the problem. You maybe heard it, but you don't know it.
Well, it's the difference between being coachable, right? Like you have to be coachable in that, yeah, you may have heard it before, but if you didn't implement it, and I'll be the first to tell you, for a long time, I didn't want to be emotional, or I didn't want to show a lot of emotion because I felt like that was weak.
Yeah.
And being vulnerable, like around people I didn't know, it wasn't really comfortable. People I know, like, are probably wishing like I'd shut up, but I just wanted, I was too worried about what the outside world thought about things. And once I was able to release some of that, and it's a slow process, like there's still things I'm like, nope, that's, but other things, it completely opened me up, and you just have to be ready. And it doesn't mean you're ready today, but you could be like 6 weeks from today.
Exactly.
Yep.
How have your results so far impacted you in your life?
That's a really good question. If I were to think about that, I would say they haven't been fast enough. And I think you and I have had this conversation where I was like, oh, I wanted instant gratification. I was thinking about that today. And just different things. Like I want things fast. I'm a quick learner. Things came easy to me, and I expected things to happen fast. And after reflecting on that, what I realized was like, no, you're on your own journey to do what you're supposed to do and to figure it out as you go. And once I freed that up, I am so thankful for now all the results. And I think gratitude's a huge thing, right? We spend so much time sometimes thinking about what we don't have that we forget that, oh my gosh, I got, 2 new people in my group this week. And then somebody else will post, oh, I got 100. And then you're like, oh, my 2 or 3. But what I did with that was then like, no, those 2 or 3, they're here for me. What I can give them in value. And I need to be appreciative and thankful and grateful that they're here every day, and make sure I'm holding up my end of the bargain. Paid clients where you're like, because I talk with you on Mondays after I meet with my client, and I'm always like, this is like amazing, because she's having these amazing thoughts and things that she's like, oh my gosh. And so I don't know, it's thankful, abundant, switching from scarcity and lack to being thankful that there's this abundance of things happening, even though they're not what I expected at first. I've learned to be like, no, those things are coming. And what you're doing now is preparing you for big, big things.
Yes.
And it was little things like when I changed my Calendly calendar, like I had it pretty wide open. And then I realized, and we were talking about that. You're like, how many clients is full? And I'm like, I think I told you when we first started, I don't know, like 20 will be great. No, so I went back there and I'm like, 10 will be good.
Yeah.
And then I shrunk my calendar. And since I did that, guess what? I'm getting more discovery calls. I'm getting, more interaction with people that I've never had before. And I think it's because I got real, like, yeah, 20 would be great, but no, because I don't want to work. I want to set my own hours. That's why I decided to have my own business, is to do the things that I want to do as well. So just little tweaks.
I love that.
We're prepping you. Yeah.
I love that, because I did the exact same thing. I was like, 20, yay, I definitely want 20. Not really thinking of all of the extra work that goes around this. Like when people talk, oh, I work, 1 to 2 hours in my business. Sure, I spend 1 to 2 hours a day nurturing my business.
Sure.
That does not have anything to do with discovery calls, client calls, messages from my current clients, people that have questions about working with me. That takes a lot of time.
Yes.
And so having all of that, and then 20 people DMing you on a regular basis and wanting to book calls and wanting to change their times, that's a lot of hours.
Exactly. And so once you narrow that down, then things start to happen, because now you're comfortable with the time that you've set.
Yep.
And you are inviting people into that. And I think before I wasn't inviting people into that because I knew I didn't want to work at all of those times. And so that made a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Okay. Last question.
Okay.
What would you say to someone who is currently thinking about working with me?
Absolutely do it. I think the one thing that we have to always ask ourselves is, are you ready to do the work? Brittany's not going to do the work for you. But if you're ready to be open with yourself about how things are or what you want, and you're willing to, it's not even there's no criticism. I don't mean that, but when you're looking for ideas, right? And you don't know, because I asked you, well, what about a group? Like, I'm better in a group. And you're like, I wouldn't do a group until XYZ happens. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I had to process it because I'm like, I don't think I like your answer. And then and then I thought, well, even if I didn't like Brittany's answer and I still did it, you would still support me and be like, do what you want to do. Like, try it. There's no harm, no foul in trying stuff and seeing what works. And so you just have to be open to that type of thing, and then open to just, it's more personal work for me. In order to grow my business, I've had to do more personal work than business work.
Right.
And I think that's probably the case for a lot of people, because we get things in our own head. So if you're ready for that, then it's absolutely the perfect time. And you just have to be willing to be open and honest about things, and know that you'll just get through them. Like, you'll walk you through, you'll make you think. You're great about answering stuff. Anytime we send a message, and he's on it. So it's a huge difference.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Jenny, how can everyone that's watching or listening to this later, how can they get in touch with you? Where can we find you?
I'm always in my Facebook group. It's, if you do @Reclaim Your Inner Badass. And I'm there every day, many times a day. Today I'm doing live coaching. So just lots of good stuff.
Awesome. So friends, go get in Jenny's group and get some free coaching from her tonight. Yeah. That would be super duper fun. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jenny, for coming and hanging out with me today.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
To end off the whole interview month.
Hey, fun.
I know. I love you back. Awesome, friends. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. If you have not gotten your application into the Audience Incubator Mastermind, the doors are closing in like 8 hours. So make sure you get your booty in there. Jenny's going to share the link to her group in the comments as soon as this loads up, and you can get in touch with her. Have an amazing weekend, and I'll see you all later. Bye.
Bye.